Okay. Now I wanted to say, before going into really like detailed drawings, okay, so this is me and I'm sketching, and I've found this place that I'm going to be working in, right? And so here's like a little example of me working with my character, working inside the environment. There's a car, there's a person dropping off the newspapers. Here's my character. My character's got a little dog. Okay. Here's like the street in the foreground. Now here's the character, and they're walking along that boulevard that I had been describing, and they've got their dog, and they're cutting down these stairs to the river. Okay, and what I'm doing still, like this kind of work is, and over here you see here's like the boy, and he's throwing a newspaper, and he's walking along the street, and here he's following a little leaf. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm building out a world in my imagination, and I'm still living inside, like, again, I haven't broken out a perspective grid and started to detail this thing in a way that's more analytical. Like, I'm still engaging a very creative part of my brain. This is a different piece that I was sketching. This was actually after one of the in class students had started a village that was kind of tall and thin and kooky. And I came home and I was thinking about how to talk to her about it. And so all I've done is I just stacked up geometry, just like, basic box and triangle shapes, and like added to it details from kind of like French window details. And we're ending up making a very kind of whimsical city situation. Okay? So once you start to, so there's a sort of mid stage that I think is really super important, that where you don't go directly to setting up, the where you don't, like, you're not trying to resolve the exact nature of any particular building. You're still just trying to like move imaginatively into the environment. You see like in the work, if you get any of the books by Studio Ghibli, you see them, there's resolved environmental art that's used as backgrounds in the animation, but there's a million sketches that take place between them. And that's the part where I think are kind of that's the part that I think that we need to put our attention on. So I might take, just like from the sketching that I was doing, one of the things that I'd love to I'd love to bring about would be, and now I have lots and lots and lots of info in my head. Um, I know that the city that I'm drawing takes place on a hill. So all I've done is just sort of like I'm indicating a roof structure and a little building. And I know that all of this stuff takes place on a hill because I've decided on that. And that it empties, that across the main street, like if this is going to be a main street situation, that there's a nice big sidewalk, and across the main street, here would be the street, that it would empty into the river, so that the river would be over here. And I had decided that there would be lots of foliage. So this is the sidewalk. And that doesn't make any sense that that would be the sidewalk because it's too close to this building. So maybe what I'll do is I'll act as though I'm panned way back. I'm just doing geometry. I'm interrupting the shapes with the foliage that I was thinking of including. If this is a kind of Main Street situation, I had talked about having awnings over windows. And then you start to get some little sketch. Like, let's say my little character is in here and he's looking in the window of this store. And then there's other houses, there's other buildings that go back in the distance over here. So the whole idea of this environment that I'm working on is that this guy's job is early in the morning. He's got this paper out where he has to be up before everybody else. And so one of the things that has to happen in this environment is a kind of dimness. The other thing that happens if we pick a time of day, like, so let's say that this is going to be really early morning, and that means that there's going to be long shadows. So let's say if I put a street lamp here, like this. So it's a really wide sidewalk, and it would have a really long shadow. And if this house would have a long shadow, and the shadow would be going over the geography, it would be going over the shape of the lawn beside this house and out onto the road. And if this house is going to be included in the picture, there would be a shadow for that too. And so now I've determined that there's a sort of light direction, like that the light direction is coming in from about here, which would mean that everything back here is going to be really dark. And it could be, I would think that most roofing material is on the dark side. And so this part of the picture would be dark too. And this would be kind of, there would be no shadow there. But he might be sitting and looking in a window. And that might be the light side. See over here, this could be the dark side of the house. The dark side of the shop, that he's looking in the window. This could be the medium side right here. Grab a marker and see if I can't do this quicker for you guys. So let's say that this is the dark side of this house. And the rooftop is dark too. But he's down in here looking in a window, and maybe the window has a little bit of light in it. So our basic light is casting a shadow to the left. But our character ends up standing in what would essentially be a little accent light. And he would be casting a shadow from the accent light. And he might also be casting a shadow from the main light. So there's his little shadow from the main light. Here's a little house in the background. It's also darkened. And there's the foliage growing around it. There's a steeple in the background. And off on the edge, here's the street light. And off on the edge of this road is a car. There might be a couple of cars parked on the road. And the car could also have a long shadow. Maybe trees growing over the And after a couple of drawings like this, or like I had showed you those earlier samples, after, and there could be like a little mailbox. People have to have mail delivered to them. And after a few drawings like this, I start to really have a sense of the place, a sense of the time, a sense of the story. Then it starts becoming time to start to think about taking something like this as sketching material to perhaps try to do a bigger composition of. Okay, so I might be deciding on something like that as a composition. Although I have to say I like this triangle over here from this house, and I don't really need all this emptiness over here. I think that I would cut this composition like that. I think that starts to become a much better composition. Okay. So getting to this point here, I'm not positive what to do here. I do know that the village is built on a hill, and so there would be the possibility of like little houses over the edge of the hill, and there might be a road going up. All of which really leads me to this situation right here, which I like. You know how you can get shadows cast across the street? So that's kind of fun. And what I've ended up with in this process that we've been through this morning is I've ended up with a sketch that's engaging. I've ended up with a sketch that I feel like I can really, now what I need to know how to do is I need to know how to draw a house, and I need to know how to draw a car, and I need to know how to draw trees, and I need to know how to draw a road going uphill. And none of that is that hard. What I think is, and we can work on all that kind of in the future, but getting us to here, I think, is really critical. Getting us to a spot where we're looking at a scene that's worth the time investment.